You've probably heard your whole life that more testing and early detection are the keys to healthy aging. It's a message about being responsible and taking control. But what if that's not the whole story? What if some of the most common medical checkups for people over 70 are secretly doing more harm than good? What if they're leading to needless anxiety, risky procedures, and a loss of the very independence you're trying to protect? Look, modern healthcare is fantastic at finding problems early, but sometimes, in its mission to screen for everything, it creates a new crisis. Routine tests can become a gateway to a whole cascade of follow-ups and interventions that can actually diminish your quality of life. This isn't about avoiding your doctor or ignoring real symptoms. This is about empowerment. It's about knowing that after 70, the scales of benefit and harm can tip in a surprising new direction. In this video, we're going to reveal 5 specific health checkups that top medical experts now say you should think twice about. Full body CT scans. Kicking off our list at number 5 is the full body CT scan. On the surface, it sounds amazing, right? A super high-tech look inside your entire body to catch anything and everything before it becomes a problem. But here's the thing. For healthy adults without symptoms, the FDA has never approved it for screening, and for very good reasons. The first big issue is the radiation. A single full-body CT scan can hit you with a dose of radiation equal to somewhere between 100 and 200 standard chest X-rays. While the risk from one scan is small, that exposure adds up, and some studies suggest it can increase the lifetime risk of cancer, the exact thing people are trying to catch early. But the more immediate danger is what these scans find. They're so sensitive they almost always pick up incidental findings, tiny, harmless abnormalities like little nodules, cysts, or shadows. Take the story of Marcus, an 80-year-old who decided to get a full-body scan on a whim. It found a small, harmless-looking nodule on his lung. Even though it was likely nothing, that discovery sent him down a rabbit hole of anxiety. His doctors, wanting to play it safe, recommended a biopsy. That procedure led to complications, a hospital stay, and weeks of recovery. And the nodule? It was nothing, just as they first suspected. The harm from the follow-up, however, was very real. This is why major medical groups warn against these scans for people without symptoms. The risk of false alarms and the invasive tests that follow often create a cycle of harm with no proven benefit. So what's the smarter move? Targeted screening. Instead of a full-body scan, talk to your doctor about screening for specific conditions where you might have risk factors. It's all about making sure the benefits truly outweigh the potential harms. Brain MRIs for memory lapses. Coming in at number 4 is the routine brain MRI for those normal, age-related memory hiccups. As we get older, it's totally natural to worry about our minds. Forgetting a name or where you left your keys can spark a little fear of dementia, and it's tempting to ask for a brain scan just for peace of mind. The problem is, in a person over 70, a brain MRI will almost certainly find something. Studies show that most MRIs in older adults reveal things like white matter changes, a little bit of brain shrinkage, or tiny marks on the brain. While that sounds scary, these findings are usually just normal, age-related changes that don't actually affect your health. In fact, research shows a high percentage of these incidental findings on brain scans don't need any medical evaluation at all. This is what happened to George, a 74-year-old who was getting worried about his forgetfulness. He insisted on an MRI, and the report came back mentioning age-related cerebral atrophy. Even though his doctor explained this was normal for his age, George became fixated on it, convinced he was at the start of a serious decline. The stress of it all just made his memory worse. He had turned a normal part of aging into a source of chronic fear. Unless you experience a sudden, dramatic change in your thinking, or have other neurological symptoms, a brain MRI usually isn't the right first step. A much better alternative is a simple cognitive screening test your doctor can do in the office. These tests are great at telling the difference between normal memory slips and more concerning patterns that might need a closer look. They don't carry the risk of anxiety-inducing discoveries and give you a much more practical way to track your cognitive health over time. Routine cardiac stress tests. At number 3, we've got the routine cardiac stress test for seniors who don't have any symptoms. This is the test where you walk on a treadmill while hooked up to an EKG machine to see how your heart handles stress. It's a common test, but for older folks without any signs of heart disease, like chest pain or shortness of breath, it can be a doorway to unnecessary and risky procedures. The main issue with stress tests is their high rate of false positives, especially in older people. A false positive suggests there's a problem with blood flow to your heart when there really isn't one. This can set off something doctors call the cascade of intervention. A positive stress test often leads to more invasive tests, like a cardiac catheterization, where a tube is literally threaded through your blood vessels and into your heart. This brings us to Raymond, a 75-year-old who felt perfectly fine, but had a stress test as part of a senior checkup. The test came back positive. That led to an angiogram, which then led to doctors placing a stent to open a partially narrowed artery. Unfortunately, the procedure had complications, and Raymond ended up in the hospital for an issue he never even knew he had, and one that might never have caused him any trouble. Research has shown that for many patients without active symptoms, putting stents in stable blockages doesn't actually help them live longer or prevent future heart attacks. This isn't to say stress tests are bad. For people with clear symptoms like chest pain, they are a critical tool. But for routine screening in someone without symptoms, the potential harm from a false alarm and the invasive procedures that follow often outweighs any benefit. Talk to your doctor about safer alternatives, like a simple resting EKG, or perhaps a coronary calcium scan, a non-invasive test that can help clarify your risk without pushing you straight toward an operating table. Routine bone density scans, DEXA. Our runner-up at number 2 is the routine, frequent bone density scan, also known as a DEXA scan. For decades, women especially have been told to get regular DEXA scans to check for osteoporosis. The goal is a good one: prevent fractures. But for many people over 70, this has turned into a cycle of overdiagnosis and overtreatment. Here's the deal: everyone's bones lose density with age. It's a normal part of getting older. A DEXA scan gives you a T-score, which compares your bone density to that of a healthy 30-year-old. After 70, almost everyone is going to get a score that puts them in the osteopenia, mild bone loss, or osteoporosis category. This can create a lot of fear and lead to prescriptions for powerful drugs like bisphosphonates. While these drugs can help some high-risk people, they have a list of serious potential side effects, including digestive problems, and in rare cases, jawbone decay or even unusual fractures. For many older adults, studies have shown that the benefit of these drugs in actually preventing a fracture is surprisingly small. Consider Rose, a 76-year-old diagnosed with osteopenia from a routine scan. Her doctor immediately suggested medication. Wary of the side effects, Rose asked a powerful question: what are my alternatives? Instead of starting the drug, she committed to weight-bearing exercise, balance training, and getting enough vitamin D and calcium. A follow-up scan years later showed her bone density was stable. She chose a path that improved her overall strength and balance, the two most important factors in preventing falls, which are the real cause of most fractures. The key takeaway isn't to ignore bone health, it's to shift your focus from a number on a page to preventing falls in the real world. For many seniors without other major risk factors, repeating a bone density test every 2 years often isn't necessary. The smarter approach is to work on strength, balance, and nutrition, and to have a real talk with your doctor about whether the small potential benefits of a drug truly outweigh the big risks. Routine colonoscopies after 75. And the number 1 health checkup to question after 70 is the routine screening colonoscopy for average risk adults. This one might be the most surprising because we all know the colonoscopy is the gold standard for preventing colorectal cancer. And it is a fantastic tool. But after a certain age, the risk-reward balance changes dramatically. The US Preventive Services Task Force, a leading expert panel, recommends stopping routine colorectal cancer screening at age 75 for adults who have had normal results in the past. Why? Because the risks of the procedure itself start to outweigh the benefits. A colonoscopy is an invasive test. The bowel prep can be incredibly tough on an older body, and the procedure requires sedation. More importantly, the risk of serious complications, like bleeding, a perforated bowel, or bad reactions to anesthesia, goes up sharply in older adults. Let's talk about Dana, a 73-year-old with a history of normal colonoscopies who went for another one just in case. During the procedure, she suffered a bowel perforation, a rare but devastating complication. It required emergency surgery and a long, painful recovery. She traded a very small chance of finding a preventable cancer for a very real, life-altering harm. One large study pointed out that while colonoscopies might save a few lives per 1,000 people screened, they also caused serious complications in a much larger number of patients. This doesn't mean you ignore your colon health after 75. If you have symptoms, like blood in your stool, or a change in bowel habits, you absolutely need to see your doctor. But for routine screening, there's a much safer, non-invasive alternative: the fecal immunochemical test, or FIT. This is a simple stool test you do at home that's very effective at detecting early signs of cancer. If it comes back positive, then a colonoscopy makes sense. But for routine checks, the FIT offers a much safer first step, helping you avoid the risks of an invasive procedure unless it's truly needed. So there you have it, 5 common checkups that might not be in your best interest after you turn 70. From full body CT scans and brain MRIs to routine stress tests, bone density scans, and even colonoscopies. The point of this video isn't to tell you to refuse medical care, it's to help you have a smarter, more informed conversation with your doctor. The best medical care, especially as we get older, isn't about doing every single test out there. It's about personalizing that care. It's about feeling empowered to ask the right questions. Is this test really necessary for me right now? What are the actual harms? And what are the alternatives? True health isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. It's about protecting your quality of life, your peace of mind, and your independence. By being an active partner in your own healthcare, you can make sure the decisions being made are the ones that truly serve you best. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this information valuable, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. And please share this with a friend or family member who might need to hear this. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a medical test that you later questioned? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story could really help someone else.